here at the cabin. It's fresh, very fresh. Sun is rising and it is a beautiful, beautiful morning. Let's get some breakfast. Right, so today, another morning in the cabin. Beautiful morning, as I said, sun is rising. Having a bit of breakfast outside. It is a little bit fresh and a little bit chilly, but okay for me. I don't think Christine would make it out on a morning like this. But what I can't get over is how calm it is. Like not a breeze, not a leaf is moving. It is so surreal, actually. But I suppose we've had another night in the cabin. Better sleep tonight, or last night, sorry, we had a better sleep last night. And in this video I kind of want to go through a little bit about kind of selecting locations for these type of cabins and Airbnbs, pros and cons in terms of the business model and the long-term outlook. Not sure what that is. I don't think that was a gunshot. Oh, no, that was a gunshot. Okay, well, we are in the woods. Okay, so I'm going to shoot this video outside for a few reasons. One, the lighting in there is not the greatest once it gets a little bit dark outside, and also give Christine a little bit of space rather than me talking into the camera, because as it's all open plan, it's very hard to kind of just take a room and record a video without disturbing someone else. But I suppose what I want to talk about today in this video is Airbnbs in remote locations and experiences in the woods. Are they a good investment, or are they a fad, and will they disappear shortly? The cabin experience has got extremely popular in the last few years. It's all over Instagram. With COVID, it has got even more popular. Even Netflix has its own TV show on it. But is this new popularity down to COVID and the lack of air travel? And is it something that's going to disappear? And if so, is this type of investment a good investment right now? There are lots of property investors who have flooded into the market because of the demand, because they see that there is a demand for this particular type of property, and see that people want to experience a unique kind of home to stay in for a short period of time. So as demand has increased for that particular type of market, investors have flooded in as well. The returns that these investors have shown are incredible, but can they last? Is it going to be a long-term investment? Generally speaking, the yields or the cap rate on properties will tell you how risky a certain investment is. Prime offices, for example, run around about 5% cap or yield rate. Retail will probably run around 6.5%. For prime retail. That kind of difference is to show that there's a different level of risk. Office is seen as less riskier than retail right now. When you consider residential property, yields can range from anywhere between 5% to 10% depending on the location, but a good yield within residential might be around 6 or 7%. However, the yields that are being shown on some of these unique properties or cabins and Airbnbs can be anywhere between 15 to 20%. Is that a reflection on the risk, or is that a reflection that the market is untapped? In my mind, it's a bit of both. There's a bit of an untapped potential there, but there's also huge risks. And in my mind, there's 4 probably key risks associated with Airbnb these unique properties. Number 1, the tourist demand within that particular area or sector could disappear or dry up quite rapidly. 2, local cities and councils are bringing in rules to restrict Airbnb all the time. Sometimes they're restricting the number of days, and sometimes they're banning Airbnb outright altogether. 3, markets can get oversaturated with hosts, particularly in markets that are deemed to be trendy at particular points in time, and this will ultimately have an impact on your income and long-term investment as well. And 4, why I think it's a huge risk is valuing these types of properties on the income from Airbnb can be extremely risky because of the 3 reasons that I've just mentioned before, because any change in competition, laws, or actually tourist demand can have a huge impact on the value of your property. I'm not saying unique homes or cabins are an actual bad investment. I'm just saying that there is a lot of risks, hence why there is a huge yield on these type of properties. There is definitely a lot of money to be made out of Airbnb, but before we get into that, I think it's important to kind of look at some of the stats. Kind of on average, the Airbnb occupancy rate around the world is about 45.5%. That's not great when you think about it. Honolulu in Hawaii has the highest occupancy rate at 68%, which is understandable because it is a unique tourist destination. As of 2020, Airbnb accommodated travelers from all over the globe and accommodated 4 million Airbnb listings. As of September, there was 90,000 cabins, 40,000 farms, 3,500 castles. In addition to this, you could also rent over 5,000 boats, 24,000 tiny homes, as well as 2,800 yurts and 1,600 tree houses, 1,600 private islands, and 300 lighthouses and 140 igloos. So a lot of variety out there for these unique homes. There's over 1 million properties available in the US on Airbnb. But what is a good occupancy rate for Airbnb? Well, looking at the stats, a good occupancy rate for year-round property available would be about 65%. Anything lower than 50% is considered low. The highest occupancy levels generally reached are about 75%, but this only happens very rarely. And when it comes to an average Airbnb in America, the average occupancy rate is 48%. A little bit lower than I would have assumed, but perhaps that's down to the amount of units that are actually available. But at the same time, some cities and locations can have extremely low occupancy levels, down as low as 10%. So how much money does the average Airbnb host make? On average, the annual earnings for an Airbnb host is $924 per month, but some hosts can make up as much as $10,000 and other hosts can make as little as $200 per month. The US does have the highest average Airbnb host earnings on an annual basis of about $18,285 per year. These are just rough estimates from Airbnb. It's important to realize that every host will be charging different room rates, every location will be a little bit different, and every host will have different costs associated with running their property. So how do you actually make these unique or cabin homes profitable and a long-term good investment? Well, with all property, location is absolutely key, and it's no different with these properties either. Right now I'm in the middle of nowhere, and that's part of the attraction. But yesterday, to go to lunch or grab some lunch, it was an hour round trip. For dinner yesterday evening, it was a 35-minute drive. But that's part of the attraction. It's in the middle of nowhere. I don't think I'll ever come back here again. Unlike Berlin, Barcelona, Madrid, New York, Miami, LA, they're all places I'll go to over and over again. And I think that's the issue with these type of properties. It's a one-off. Once you do it once, you're not coming back. For long-term stable income growth as well as capital investment growth, I think you need to think about location as one of the key factors when you're picking one of these properties. Location is something you cannot change. Unlike one of these properties, you can modify it as you go once you have the location. So therefore, thinking about your location is one of the most important things. Is it somewhere where people will continue to visit year on year? I.e., is it a ski resort? Is it near a beach? Or is it near an area of historical importance that people will come back to year on year? There's no doubt whatsoever that Airbnb, these particular types of unique properties, can be extremely profitable, but it comes down to probably three key elements. 1, location, 2, good management, and 3, a clear strategy. The cost of running these particular types of Airbnb is getting more expensive all the time as competition increases. Adding amenities like games rooms and hot tubs is becoming a must for some of these properties to stay competitive. The cabin experience is something that I still have a romanticized idea about in terms of a property investment venture. But I think this trip has kind of illustrated to me that I'm not ready to move out to one of these locations and get it up and running. I still prefer the city, and I have concerns about the long-term investment potential of properties like this. But if you buy in the right location, I don't think you'll go wrong. I personally just aren't ready to commit to something like this if this trip was worth it, it was worth it for that alone, to understand that it's not something I'm ready to commit to. I've gained something from this trip out here. I hope you've gained something from this video. If you have, please give it a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe to the channel as well. As I said, one of the things that I can't get over is how still or quiet it is out here. There's not a breeze in the air, and a leaf just dropped from a tree in the distance, and it caught my attention. Actually, now that I look down that direction, I actually think there's more down there to the property, so let's actually go and explore. Oh, there's a trampoline, and there is a swing.